Hello, everybody, and welcome to In the Doll World, a show spotlighting the passion and the people of the doll community. With your host, me, Georgette Taylor, former vice president and co-founder of Big Beautiful Dolls, and Tammy Fisher, owner of Curiosity Dolls and Collectibles. Join us as we talk to and feature fascinating new dolls and doll artists, from avid collectors to repainters, redesigners, bloggers, authors, filmmakers, and all the people in between as they share their journeys, give us glimpses into their processes, and what propels their passion and drive that help to keep the doll world moving and shaking. Here are your hosts, Georgette and Tammy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to In the Doll World. Today, you're here with me, your host, Tammy Fisher, and with my co-host, Georgette Taylor.
Hello, everybody.
Today, our guest is one of those people we've been fangirling about a lot, and that's Miss Stacey McBride Irby. And a lot of you know Stacey from her Mattel days. She is the person who was responsible for the Sew and Style dolls, and she's done the Prettie Girls. And just Stacey is one of those people who has been out front leading diversity. And so we are super excited to have her on our show today. So thank you, Stacey, for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Georgette and Tammy, for having me.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for
being
coming.
here.
Yeah, we're so
Thank you.
excited. So let's get started. Our first question is, tell us about your doll journey. Tell us about how you fell in love with dolls and how you ended up being someone who has been so influential with diversity in dolls.
Okay, so my doll journey started off when I was a little girl growing up playing with dolls. Baby dolls were like my nurturing dolls. They were mine. I had them in quotation marks. I birthed these dolls. So I love, sometimes I dressed like the dolls when I would go to church. So that was very important. So I had baby dolls that actually looked like me, but I also loved Barbie, and Barbie didn't look like me. She had her blonde hair, blue eyes, but I loved combing her hair. She was like a fantasy doll to me. Basically allowed me to dream. She had her dream house, the Corvette. I had the camper. I didn't have the dream house, but my friend down the street did. So I would take my dolls in the little suitcases and play with Barbie with her. But and I love mixing and matching all the fashions as well. So Barbie actually made me want to be a fashion designer. And I was around 13 years old when I stopped playing with Barbies. Don't judge.
We're not judging.
We're not judging.
So
I'm way older than that, and I'm still playing with dolls.
that's true. But back then, as a 13-year-old, it wasn't cool to still play with dolls. But I was
Okay.
still playing, and at the time, we had our library. So I was like, okay, I'm in middle school. I was had a little more homework, so I didn't have time to like take out my little Barbie forts and play with them as much. So that's when I started going to the library and drawing more and researching becoming a fashion designer. So I ended up all through high school still drawing, getting my portfolio together, and I ended up going to Los Angeles Trade Tech, which specialized in fashion design. And later on, I found out that Kitty Black Perkins, the first Black Barbie designer, actually went there as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when my dad knew that I wanted to be a fashion designer, he saved a newspaper article um, for me, and it featured Kitty.
Okay.
And after graduating from college, well, first of all, my grandmother didn't want me to really go into fashion design because she was a seamstress back in the day, and she didn't see any designers that looked like me.
Right.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have a plan B because I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to just go for it, give it a shot at least. So I ended up um, getting fashion design jobs as design assistants. Some of the designers were just starting off and they can barely pay me. Um, And then I did get a job as an assistant in a larger company. And I did end up experiencing what my grandmother was telling me about. So she advised me to quit. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm still living at home. I can do that. And that's when I ended up taking computer design classes at a local community college. The instructor knew that I was looking for a job. So she told me to try Mattel. And I'm thinking Mattel. And I knew Kitty but for some reason I was like, oh, they might need designers.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
ended up cold calling Kitty Black Perkins. I got her voicemail. She didn't call me back. Within maybe 3 to 4 weeks later, I gave her another call, and she, in her nice, kind voice, said, "Are you the designer that called me? I am looking for an assistant. I couldn't find your number."
Oh.
And I'm like, you
Oh
know,
no.
so I'm a believer. I'm a believer. So I
Yes.
knew that was God.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right.
And the perfect timing. So I interviewed with her twice. And I just had my article of her in the newspaper just happened to kind of fall out of my portfolio. And who knew, but she said that's kind of why I got the job too. That made me stand out as well, because I guess I was fangirling her.
Right, exactly. There you go. That's right. That's right. But the other thing too, she probably was appreciated that that you knew about her and what she
Right.
did too, So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
That's funny.
I ended up coming back with her with a jumpsuit. I had to go purchase a Barbie, design a fashion for her. And I designed this red jumpsuit. And when I look back at it, I'm like, "Ooh, I got hired for this." But Kitty Black Perkins, she said she loved jumpsuits. So it was a winner for her. And that's when I started my journey at Mattel as Kitty
Wow.
Black
Oh.
Perkins design assistant.
So was your red jumpsuit the red jumpsuit that was on the
Oh no, I
first?
have grown
Oh, okay.
since.
No, I was wondering if that was your jumpsuit on that first Barbie.
Oh no.
Okay,
No,
okay,
so the first jumpsuit was in 1980. I was still a little girl at the
okay,
time.
Okay.
okay.
All right. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
So
It's like, oh no, I have grown since then, right?
I thought you were going to refer to what was it? The 20th anniversary Black Barbie jumpsuit. I
Okay.
did a rendition of the jumpsuit.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right. Nice. You upgraded it.
Oh, I did. Yeah. It was actually auctioned off for the LA Urban League dinner.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're amazing.
Oh,
I
thank
was
you.
no, yeah, because even as a fangirl, it's like, oh, I know all these things about you, and then you come up and talking about your childhood and
Mm-hmm.
you're just moving stuff. It's just like, wait a minute, I can do that. I'm gonna
Right.
be there, and I love
And the
that.
crazy thing is I was a shy little girl growing up because Barbies were my friends. I had friends that I played with, but I'm still kind of an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
But so for me, like you said, to make these moves, I'm like, wow, I'm
Right. 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 I know, because when I was reading your some of your history, and you said that you cold called her. I was like,
Yeah,
there's entrepreneurs out here who can't even do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
It's cold
Right.
called somebody, or introduce themselves
Yeah.
to somebody that they admire, or
yeah.
look up to.
Right.
So
Right.
that was a bold
I
move right
guess I
there.
was really more driven at the time. I
Mhm.
like like I said, I didn't really have a plan B.
Right.
So
So you had to make
Yeah,
you had to
that
make it
makes sense.
work, right?
yeah. Right. And I
But
really loved I love dolls. So I'm like, okay, well, if this is an opportunity for me, let me just go for it.
mhm.
Nothing else was falling in my lap. So
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though. I like that story because I think it does see an opportunity for other people to see that there are other things to do within the doll world. You know, I think a lot of
Yes.
times when we do this show, people think about, oh, they just created a doll, and not and creating a doll is a whole nother process, right? And we'll
yes, it
talk about that.
is. Yes.
But just to see that they can be artists and they can, utilize their talent in so many ways in this industry. And
Right.
I think your progression shows that so much. You
Oh,
know,
thank you. And
Mhm.
just being at Mattel,
Oh, that must have been
just the
yes,
creativity that
yes.
goes on in that building, from the face painters to the hair rooters to the
Mm-hmm.
seam sample makers to
Right.
the graphic artists, I mean, the package designers. So there are so many avenues and creative spaces that you can find within doll designing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
And
so important. That's part of what we talk about. And we try to make sure to emphasize that in our shows because in America, we have a history of saying artist, that the art is something fun to do. You don't
Mhm.
pay your bills doing art. And one of the things we want to showcase is no, there are people who actually make a decent living, they make a
Right,
good living doing art.
right.
So yeah, that's important. Thank you for sharing that with us.
No problem.
So why don't you talk about, so you were at Barbie, at Mattel, and you were doing some work with Kitty. How did
hmm
you get to the sew and style? What's the history on those little ladies?
Okay, so as I was working at Mattel with Kitty, um, I was her assistant. So at some point, I'm like, okay, well, I want to branch out and, be on my own. So I did graduate and go into being a designer. So that was complicated because, like I said, I was shy. I knew how to be creative, but now that I'm on my own, I have to present my own concepts in front of all these people.
mm-hmm.
um, so
Mm.
that was a challenge, but fortunately I kind of got used to it. Still never felt as comfortable, and within the walls of Mattel, everything, it was always changing. You always had a new boss, you had new management, so I was constantly having to prove myself. um, and at one point, I ended up going to another team which focused on the I Can Be career dolls and then
Yeah.
also pets and play sets. Well, that didn't focus much on fashion. I had to create a fashion for the doll, but it also was more feature driven. You need to design a play set, you need to design the pets, which, pets are, and that wasn't really my love, but I'm
Yes.
glad that it was a great learning experience because now I know what it takes to put like a large play set within a package, as far as the costing is concerned,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
the color story, the if you see it on shelf, what is going to gravitate to the child. So it was a great learning experience, but it wasn't my passion. So at that time, I'm sure you know Bill Greening. He's one of the lead designers still at Mattel. So he was on the
Mm-hmm.
collector team and he had an opportunity to design the AKA sorority Barbie. He
Hmm.
knew that I wasn't, really feeling the pets. So he was like, Stacey, you should design this doll. You know more about it than we would.
Right.
So I was like, oh my God, yes, I would love, of course. And I wasn't part of the sisterhood, but it allowed me to do some research. I loved what they stood for. And I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. I did three. I think they only asked for one sketch. I did three. I was an overachiever. I'm like, I need. And they ended up loving them all. But during that time, um, I wasn't on the collector team. So my management was like, well, this isn't your priority. You still need to focus on the pets. So I
Mm-hmm.
was going in there on the weekends, staying late. Um, you know, and like I said, you know, sometimes it was challenging, you know, being at Mattel, but you know, I made it work.
Right.
So the AKA sorority, they loved all the sketches, and but Mattel only wanted to focus on the one because this was new to them. I think I don't know how many dolls they created, but they sold out within they within I guess a month. They sold them
Wow.
on
Wow.
Walmart.com and
Mm-hmm.
at the sororities Boulay.
Wow. In a
Yeah.
month? Wow.
Sororities Boulay, what's that?
That was their centennial year
Okay.
celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think it was their conference.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
That's incredible in a month.
Right.
Yeah. So then what happened after that?
So after that, I got that itch. I'm like, okay, I need to design some more dolls of color that make me feel good and proud.
Right.
Um, and then at the time, my daughter, I think she was around 5 or 6. So I'm thinking, okay, she's not playing with these free dolls that I'm bringing home. So I'm
Ah,
thinking they don't look like maybe she can't relate to them.
Right.
So
yeah.
that's when, again, I would stay late after work and I did research. Barack Obama was a candidate for presidency. Disney was about to come out with their first African-American princess. So I pitched the concept to some of my upper management and marketing saying that, you know, Mattel needs to be on the cusp. We need to
Mm-hmm.
create an African-American line. And I was actually inspired by Kitty's Shawnee line as well. So I
Hmm.
kind of took pieces of that and they allowed me to create Sew in Style because of my story with my daughter and what Barbie meant to me.
Oh,
That's amazing.
that
That's
was
really
cool.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did
That's a
not
Yeah.
lot of
expect that.
support. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So fortunately I had the right marketing person in place where she believed in me. And again, you know, she was riding with me for about a year. But she was so brilliant that she ended up changing positions. And I'm like, okay, great. Now
Mm-hmm.
so just when we were getting the momentum going, she moved to a different department
Oh, okay.
or team, but she was still in marketing, but just
Mm-hmm.
not within the same brand.
Okay. So they allowed you to create this African American doll line for
Hmm.
them in there. And after you created that doll line, how long was it before you were you able to do any other doll lines in that within Mattel?
I was still working on Barbie and her sisters,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
along with the Sew and Style line. So those are two huge lines that I'm trying
Mm.
to work on.
Oh, so they
Wow.
keep you busy.
Okay.
Yes.
Hmm. Right. And again, I told you I had a young daughter and I had a
Yes.
son as well, and a
Okay.
husband, and working these long hours. Loved the Sew and Style line. Beautiful. I
Yes.
did have the support of Stephen Sumner and at the time Kimberly Kim.
Mm-hmm.
And so they needed to work on other projects as well.
Right.
So I
Right.
was just trying to chuck
Just
along.
stay afloat, right?
Yeah,
To do what you needed
exactly.
to do. Right. I get
Right.
that.
So I did get presented with this other opportunity to maybe try to start my own business. That was a scary move, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I stay at Mattel, um, trying to stay afloat, I'm going to fail at something. I can't keep all these balls in the air.
Right.
So I ended up, you know, leaving Mattel and my sewing style dolls.
Oh, I know they're like
Oh,
your babies, right? It
They
is what it is.
are.
It's like your
and
babies.
they're beautiful.
I
That's a
can
beautiful
Thank
line.
you.
I can
Thank
totally
Yes.
you.
relate to that. Yeah, I can totally
Yes.
Yeah,
relate to
so
that.
but I had real babies that I needed to tend to. So
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, so I
Yes.
had to make that hard decision and that's when I left Mattel and created the Pretty Girl doll line.
Okay.
And so let me ask you, like you saying before, like you knew that you had children that you had to take care of, yet you were at Mattel and you had a salary and you had all the
Mm-hmm.
things that you needed, right, to sustain
Right.
you
Right.
for the life that you know wanted to have financially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, and I know you had a passion to create
Right.
dolls. So what really triggered that move? Because that's a hard decision, right,
Well, it was
for
definitely
anybody. So
hard, but like I
mhm,
said, okay, for example, I'm getting deep into my life at Mattel. I just recently found an email from one of my managers. Um, it was sent to me around 4:55. I was supposed to clock out at 5, and the email said, we're supposed to present tomorrow morning um, the TV chef Barbie, and I need you to come up with 5 to 6 different colorways.
Oh my goodness.
Um, yeah, this was
yeah,
5 minutes left on the clock, but I need to
right,
come up with 5 to 6 different colorways for a TV chef. So that means it's a big play set along with the doll.
right, right.
So first I have to think about the 5 or 6 different colorways, like how
So
many.
what's a color wave?
Yeah.
So different color stories. For example, is the play set gonna be a tan kitchen? Is it gonna be a gray kitchen? I need to think about
Mm-hmm.
what colors I'm going to have in the kitchen, what colors the refrigerator going to be, what color are the plates
Wow.
and pots and pans and the food colors,
Wow.
and what color is the fashion going to be, like, and it all has to coordinate with everything.
So it's like an interior designer in a sense, right?
Exactly.
Yes, as
Pretty,
well
yes.
as yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And you
So
had
I
to
had to
have
come
4 or 5 of these?
five to
And
six of
oh,
those.
5 to 6. Ooh, wee.
and
Wow.
right. So those are the type of things that I
Right.
had
I
to,
understand. Mm-hmm.
um, you know, so that meant I was working till pretty much midnight
You're
to get
right.
this done, and
Mm-hmm.
then wake up early in the morning to present it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're only going to, so even when I present it, they might still not like the 5 or 6 that I
Right.
presented.
Mm-hmm.
So back to square one.
Got to square one, right?
Yeah, and then,
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I have these kids at home and my husband. So, I mean, it was a hard decision, but I'm like I said, I was going to fail at something, and it wasn't going to be my family, and
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that
true.
work-life balance was way off.
it was
Yeah.
way off. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I am grateful for the decision that I made, because my
Mm-hmm.
daughter is about to go to Hampton University.
Oh,
Oh, go
beautiful.
girl.
It's been a long time,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And my son, he's taking the art direction like me. So
Oh,
he's
nice.
studying, to be a animator or something
Right.
in the design
Yes.
field.
Design
That's
field. That's
beautiful.
wonderful. Yeah, that's
Yes.
wonderful.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So,
And then with that, I see people still being laid off from work. So I'm like, okay, and
yes.
so at some point it was going to happen to me.
Right.
It
That's
seems
true.
like you
That's true.
you you made a good decision. Very good
Yeah,
decision.
thank you. And I've stayed afloat. I mean, it's not the same money, but
Mm-hmm.
I have my family, and I'm
Right.
Yes.
still, surviving.
Right. And you're still
Yes.
doing what it is that you love and on your
Yes.
own
Yes.
terms, right? On your own terms,
Right.
whether,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
and I get that. Yes, I
So
understand it.
so you did Pretty Girls was your own line?
It
It
was my
was
own line,
okay.
but it was with some partners based out of
Okay.
Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I was basically the designer, the lead designer, and then they managed the business.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you
Okay.
don't have to do that part.
Right.
That's cool. So you were able
Mhm.
to, it changed your work-life balance there
It
a
did,
lot.
because I was able
Okay.
to work from home.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, I wasn't getting paid as much money, and
Yes.
especially, as far as contracts are concerned,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't abide by the contract either.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to
Oh,
deal with that as well. But
Right.
I was still at home doing what I love to do. Dolls were produced and paid
Right.
yeah.
for.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
And
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 I
I
own
think
some of those Pretty Girl dolls too.
yes.
They're
Oh,
gorgeous.
Yes.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Fangirling, fangirling.
okay. So who's your favorite?
Oh, My favorite pretty girl, I can't think of her name off the top of my head. The one with the
Okay.
brown outfit on. She's got like it's the pantsuit.
Okay, Dahlia.
Dahlia.
Okay.
I think Dahlia is the one with the, because she's got it on the top, but
She has the floral pants. Or is it
this one
Lena
has
with
this
the
one has
jumpsuit?
tan. Yeah, she's got tan pants, like tan brown kind of pants, and then she's
Uh-huh.
got the top.
It's a floral top.
Yeah, I think it's a
Okay,
floral top.
Lena.
Lena. Okay, yeah. And I also like I can't think of her name, with the fro. There's one that's a big.
Oh,
Oh yes.
the
Mm-hmm.
Bailey
Yeah.
doll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are. Yeah. Those are some pretty dolls.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank
They are
you.
beautiful. They really are.
They
Thank
have
They
the
you. And
really
right
are.
name.
those were dolls that I did start from scratch. Like with the
Mm-hmm.
sculpting, we created our own molds for the dolls. I went to Hong Kong to help develop them, and
Wow,
yeah.
that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. So then, sorry.
Go ahead,
Mhm.
Go ahead, Tammy. You're fine.
Okay, I was gonna say, so you did the Pretty Girls, and so what's on your doll journey? What happened after the Pretty Girls?
So after Pretty Girls, again, I was designing, didn't really abide by my contract. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna try something on my own.
Okay.
So that's when um, relinquished my rights with the Pretty Girls. Unfortunately, I had to let them go, but the CEO did give me the rights to the molds.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's
Yes,
great.
so I was
Yes, that's
Yeah.
able.
wonderful
I
to
mean,
have.
I know.
yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yep. So I still had the manufacturing plan and the mold. So that's when I was able to create the IamU Uniquely Beautiful doll with that same
Mm.
Okay.
mold. And then I did
Okay.
Okay.
create a new head.
Okay. I was gonna say she doesn't look. I mean, she's got different
Hmm.
face.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was to mimic the young lady from the dancing show, um, Sanjay Williams. So that
Sanjay. That's how
was,
it's pronounced. Okay. I didn't know how it was
hmm
pronounced. Okay.
yeah, Sanjay.
Yeah. That's a beautiful doll, and I
Thank
love her
you.
little outfit. Her little
Yep,
red,
the
little like
majorette.
cheerleading kind of.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty little lady too. And
Thank
her little
you.
sparkly
Yep.
lipstick.
So that was
You can
the
tell I'm
challenge in
fangirling.
itself.
Yes.
And that was a challenge in itself because I took what I learned from being on my own with Pretty Girls to
Mm-hmm.
actually do everything on my own, the business part, the creative
Right.
side, the marketing. And I realized I didn't like it.
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
being real. So
Right.
as a creative, it
Yep.
was fun
Yep.
coming up with the concept and meeting with the sculptor and the face painter and the hairstylist and getting the package design together. But when it was time to market it and get the money, it was just
Yes.
it was a lot for one
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to
Yes.
have a partner, but then you got to find people that you can trust within,
Yes, with your stuff.
and they
Mm-hmm.
have
Yeah.
to be as passionate about it as you, and they have other things going on. So I'm grateful that I was able to create the IMU Uniquely Beautiful doll. I love her, and I would love to create more.
I was gonna ask you, but with
Yeah,
this,
so I would love to create more, and then I'm also getting into more of a consulting role,
Mm.
because a
Okay.
lot of people come to me and say, "Oh, I love your dolls. I would love to create my own doll line. How did you do it?" So that's what I'm more getting into as well.
Oh, that's
that's
really
a
good.
smart move
Yeah,
because
that's really good. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting how I don't know if you're well with people who are religious. It's like how God moves for us,
Yes.
because you start off as this designer, you end up as this person who's done all these things. I mean, you know how to do the whole doll, market it,
Yes.
everything,
And
Right.
and
and
and I
so
actually learned more being on my own than at Mattel. I mean,
that makes
Mattel was
sense.
great because,
Yeah.
I have that corporate experience and I know how to design a very detailed, intricate beautiful doll because Barbie, they didn't take any
Right.
Yeah.
everything had to be perfect with Barbie. So
Yes.
that's what I have under my belt too, because I can see like, oh no, that's not quality. I can tell when something's not a quality doll. So that's what I've learned as well. And when, I do my consulting, I know exactly what to put into a doll.
Right.
Yes.
Right. You come from a different perspective of, especially for people who want to start a doll, because they have this other image, right, of what it's supposed to be, and
Right.
and how it goes, but you understanding how it really goes, right,
Exactly.
is the important part in telling people how that happens, and
Right.
and
As
so
far as
yeah,
looking at the sculpt of the, the
right.
smile, how the
Hmm.
eyes are painted. I can tell all those details.
Boy, I should have had you when we were doing our dolls. That would have been
Oh,
awesome.
but see what I mean? I know what to look for because you spend a lot of money too
Yes,
going
you
back and
do.
forth. You need to know
Yes.
how to communicate with these people and the plants and,
Yes.
Yes.
so I have all of that. I know how to not speak in full sentences with them.
Yeah, we've been interviewing some other people,
That's
like
funny.
Julian Kalinowski has been talking about. No, I'm sorry, not Julian. I'm
Joseph.
saying Joseph Zekaris, who has been in China, and he's been talking about. I was going to dedicate 2 years to make these dolls. 5 years later, it's like, oh, my dolls are coming home, and just all these bumps in the road, and
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
so people like you,
Mhm.
you got to be worth your weight in gold because of how much you save people in time, and
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
one of
Yeah,
the
but
things.
I
Go ahead.
realize some people don't want to spend the money, but they're going to
Ah,
eventually spend
They're
more
going to eventually
anyway.
spend the
yeah,
money. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
yeah,
Doing it all wrong. They will spend the
yeah,
money,
Right.
at
yeah,
the end of the day. You
Uh-huh.
can't. And the thing is, you can't really cut corners,
Right. Not in this
That's the thing.
business,
In
no.
this business, you really cannot do that. And, it reminds me of when you were talking about how much, knowledge you learn from being with Mattel, and then the knowledge that you learn from going out there on your own, being with a
yes,
partner, and then the knowledge that you learned of being on your own. So you have, you know what I mean? You have so many levels of
Three
knowledge. It's
perspectives.
three
Yes.
yes,
perspectives, of doing that.
Right.
And
And
it's kind of like you spend all that time in college, and you go get a business degree, and then you come out and you're like, I still don't even know how to run a business. You know what I mean?
exactly. You
You're
have to
not
go through
really
the
in real
experience.
life doing that, So yeah.
Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, that
I
makes a lot
do
of
love that.
sense.
Right.
I
Yes,
do love that. I wanted
yes,
to just really piggyback a little bit on the Pretty Girls, because I really wanted to know, like, your vision for them. Like, since it would have been your second doll, I guess, that you created, as far as the
Hmm.
doll line goes. Why did
Right.
you choose that title? And what was your vision for those dolls?
Okay, so coming off from my Sew and Style line, which was strictly African American dolls,
Hmm.
where the big sister mentored her little sister. Um, Whatever I do, I always wanted to have a positive message because I also have a nonprofit, Stacey's Women of Tomorrow, where I mentor girls, empowering them.
Okay.
So that's kind of where the Pretty Girls came from. I didn't want to just focus on African American. That's when I created the multicultural line of Pretty Girl dolls, where they came from different backgrounds.
Hmm.
Dahlia was from India. Um,
Okay.
Lena was African American. Valencia was Hispanic. So I just wanted to play off of, the different nationalities to be more inclusive.
Okay. All right. I can
And then
understand that.
who doesn't want to be pretty? And pretty
Right.
also has an acronym. It stands for positive, respectful, enthusiastic, truthful, talented, inspiring, and excellent.
Nice. I love all of those words.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
So
We're
Yes.
seeing
again, just empowering our young girls.
Okay. All right.
yes, and that's
Yeah.
part of a movement. We're seeing a lot of people who are doing that, and I
Hmm.
love that. So
Hmm.
not only are we getting more diversity in the dolls and the way that they look, the dolls are
Hmm.
coming with such powerful messages. I am beautiful. I am a queen, I am intelligent, I am, all these beautiful sayings that are coming. These little girls who are coming up now are just so blessed with, I mean, it's like they're just surrounded by this village that is pulling them in and just loving them and
Right.
teaching them to love themselves on all levels.
Right.
That is so amazing.
Yes, and it's so important because they have so
Yes.
many options now. I mean, like,
Yes.
the reality TV shows, the Instagram, the like social media. So we just need to reach our girls with the first little vision of themselves that they see, within a toy.
Yes. That's really powerful. Thank
That
you.
is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And so after you created the Pretty Girls, and you wind up leaving that space, and then you wanted to create these dolls on your own, and you did the IamU dolls.
Right.
What was your vision for those?
That vision was it
Or is,
actually
I'm
came
sorry.
from one of the managers, Sanjay's manager. She came to us when I was still with the Pretty Girl dolls. And she wanted to create a doll for Sanjay. And I'm like, okay, I would watch that show with my daughter. She seemed like a pretty good influence
Uh-huh.
on our young girls. She was one of the underdogs actually on the show, but she always tried really hard and succeeded to make I forget the main team where they actually perform and compete.
Mm-hmm.
And then she ended up getting a scholarship to college for dance. So I'm like, okay, well, this will be great because she falls in line with my mission, IamU, uniquely beautiful.
Mm.
So that was really my main goal with the IamU dolls. And I wanted to create more influential dolls to fall within the line. But like I said, I just ran into like, I can't do everything on my own. I love the creative space of it, but just running the business side, it was just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you
So
think
Yes.
do you think you'll hire a team? Because you're saying you want to do more dolls. So you think you'll hire a team, or how do you manage that? Okay.
possibly. Right now, like I said, I'm focusing more on consulting because I can still be creative, but
Mm,
with someone else running everything else on their own. You know what I mean?
yes.
Right. I get that. Yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense though. And I think that happens to a lot of people who like you said, who are the creators, right? Who are the
Mm-hmm.
creatives, because
Right.
to do the business side of that takes a different type of commitment, right? And a different type of, not that you don't have the skills, but it takes you out of your element. It takes you out of
Right.
your
Right. And
passion
that's the
and the
thing. I
places
know
that you
how to
want to
do it.
be.
I learned how to do it,
Right.
but I just didn't enjoy it.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Yes. And it's really hard to do things on a continuous basis for a long period of time if you don't enjoy being in that space. That is just,
Right.
it's 'cause you're not going to ever be as creative as you could be because
Right. Because
you're
I'm
thinking
thinking
about
about,
other stuff. Hmm.
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, so definitely understand that.
Yeah. And even speaking with Kitty Black Perkins, we still stay in touch with one another. And I told her what I was doing. And, by then she's like, oh, well, I'm doing it now. But she did give me some advice. She was like, well, Stacey, it seems like we're more of the idea makers,
Hmm.
pretty much creatives. And then
Right.
we pass our ideas on to someone else and let them build off of it.
Very cool. I love
You
it.
should reach out to Kitty too. That would,
Yeah.
yeah, she'd be a great person to interview.
Mm-hmm.
She's one
I
of our
really do.
people who hold a great deal of history and
Yes.
very positive.
Right.
Yeah, we'll
So
reach out to her too.
I want to ask you two questions, right, before um, I don't want to end this conversation, but it's like, oh, Jesus. But what I want to know is that what's been the most challenging thing about being in this doll industry, in this space, and what has been the most rewarding part, or the things that you would not think would happen to you because of being in this doll space, in this doll
Oh,
industry?
Huh. Okay. So there were many challenges. I did discuss some of the challenges. So
Hmm.
as far as the challenges at Mattel was being in corporate America, the work-life balance, being African American within that space.
Right.
Again, corporate America being, working on projects that you don't necessarily want to work on, but
Right.
but again, those were learning experiences, so I won't take those back.
Right. Right.
But and then being on my own was the financial challenges, learning the business side of it, learning that I don't like the business side of it. So, but again, all of these are learning experiences,
Exactly.
though,
Yes.
right?
Yes, they are.
So, those were the challenges, and then the rewards. Really, at Mattel, just when you come up with these concepts, it's a lot of back and forth with marketing. You have your child testing. So children are telling you they don't like the product, so you have to start from scratch. So, but just the reward is getting that doll and seeing it on the shelf.
On the shelves. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was very rewarding. Even with the Prettie Girls, like, wow, going to Hong Kong, working on my own project. That was very rewarding.
Right.
And just being on TV, those opportunities. Like I said, I'm shy, but I was able to turn the switch when I needed to. So, but those were challenges as well. But I'm like, oh my God, I can't embarrass myself on TV. Let me just, reach within. Lord, you got to help me. Let me not get tongue-tied, or let me just, give the right answers when they ask the questions. So, so those were rewards and challenges, as far as being on TV.
Yeah, and it got to, and I think also it got to broaden your outlook on the work that you have done in this space. Like you said, to just kind of see how people responded to you and responded to the work that you've been doing in this arena. And so I'm just I definitely know the challenges it is to just create a doll in general. I cannot possibly think about having to create one for a company, and being in that space, because just creating the doll just by itself is very challenging, and there's a lot of different parts. So I really applaud all the work you've done with Mattel, with One World doll project, and also on your own, and especially with your new IamU dolls and your consulting, because that is so important. Man, we need so many people out there like you doing doing that work.
Yes,
oh my
so
goodness,
many
it's
dreamers.
priceless. It's priceless.
So many people are dreaming of doing dolls.
Yes.
When Mattel was talking about doing Gabby, the Gabby Douglas doll, one of the things that they had said was, if someone would do a petition, or if they saw this outpouring from the community for this doll, then they would make her. And I don't know if that was really, if they just were trying to get people to be paying attention so that they would buy it or not. So a friend of mine and I, we wrote a petition and we circulated it so that we could show Mattel that there were people around the world who wanted her. So yeah, it was, I can't imagine having to do something like that, but to have to get all that stuff together by yourself, to go and get the doll and people,
and that's the thing that's so important, because even Mattel, a large company, that they have their own funding.
Yes.
But they didn't want to waste their money on a doll if we weren't going to support it,
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's another quick thing I wanted to talk about really quick, is the funding part of that. Because when you stepped out on your own and created your own doll, even part with the One World Doll project, funding can be very challenging for people who start out with no money and just
Right.
this dream. And I think people have I mean, I guess if they listen to the show now, they do understand that it is expensive, but
Hmm.
can you just go through some of the funding that is required to make a doll, or the pieces that are required, to make a doll that you're going to spend the bulk of your money on?
Right. Okay. So, for example, with the Pretty Girl dolls, fortunately, I did tell you that I had business partners in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So he was basically the fundraiser. Like he could,
Okay.
um, yeah. So that was like great because, like I said, I did put some of my money into it, but it wasn't half as much as what I would have had to spend on
Mm-hmm.
my own. And as far as molds are concerned,
Mm-hmm.
um, it can cost about $50,000 to make a mold of one doll. And people don't understand that. So that's why, they try to cut corners and don't want to pay the consultant. But with the One World Doll Project, we were paying a consultant that was a former Mattel employee, engineering
Mm-hmm.
VP, and we knew that he knew
Right.
um, the things that we didn't know.
Right.
He knew the plants in China that we can trust, where they're not going to just take our money, because you
Mm-hmm.
can't just go to China, or you just can't communicate with a plant in China and be able to trust them.
Right. Right.
So he
Yeah.
had all of that information. He had an engineer on site in China that we dealt with, a consulting firm in China. So all of these things are so important. You have to pay for it,
Yes.
but if this is your dream or your passion, that's just what's gonna be required.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
again, about 50,000, you'll pay the consulting services.
So let me,
The pre-production, where you have to deal with um, the hair designer,
Mm-hmm.
the 3D designer, to start the design before you even go into tooling or making your
Right. Tooling.
mold.
Right. Mm-hmm. A mold.
Mhm.
Right. Wow.
so I'm just wondering, so Pretty Girls, there's basically a body mold and then you have the head. So how much was, if you, let's say you wanted to do that and you wanted to
Mhm.
do 4 different heads. So how much of that 50K, how much of that is a head?
Okay, so the head might be, so they're all in parts. So the head is probably about $2,000.
Okay.
Okay. Per head. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So just
Okay.
think about the body. If you have all these parts, the torso, the
Mm-hmm.
legs. So the leg is one, another leg is one, arm, the hand,
Mm-hmm.
like all of these
Right.
pieces have to come together to make
Right.
the mold.
And I guess it
Okay.
would also decide how articulated you want them, right? Because then those
Exactly.
would be right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I
Yeah, I
understand
And
was
now.
thinking
then
the same thing
if
with the
Yep.
you
arms.
need
You have an
shoes,
elbow.
Yeah. You need
the
shoes.
shoes are a new mold. The purses are a new mold. The
Right.
Wow.
necklace, earrings.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
if you want all of that, it's going to cost.
It's gonna cost. Yes.
And
We.
some people cut corners and do soft purses, but that does cost more labor. And some
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Okay.
fabric, making a pattern. So, like I
Right.
said, I know all of those details too. So,
Very nice. Very nice. I
mhm,
love it. Yeah. I mean, I guess because I had to deal with that when I was making the big, beautiful dolls. We had to,
mhm.
find that out on our own. So we
Yep.
understand how important it was if we had somebody to walk us through that. We were lucky. We did have Percy Newsome. So he was very helpful when we
Oh,
found him.
okay.
We sat down with him and he explained a lot of stuff to us, and he shared some of the things that people that he was using, with
Mhm.
us. So we did have that. But there's
Right.
so many people who want to start a doll and they think it's just an easy process. And so for them to, I'm excited for them to know that you're out there helping them to, consult with them and help them on those big decisions on,
Right.
whether to move forward or not, because sometimes they may decide not to move forward because they just
Exactly.
know what it's going to cost them. But I mean, yeah, thank you for that.
Right.
I thank
You're
you for sharing that.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
really
I also
important. It's very
and then I
important.
also noticed some, fans, they might say, well, I would love to have a different, sculpt per doll,
Right.
like different expressions. Well, that costs more money,
Yes.
but people don't realize how much more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what goes into that process of just
Hmm.
doing that. So yeah,
Right.
totally understand that. Wow, you're just a wealth of knowledge, Stacey. Thank you so much
Thank you. And I'm
for
sorry.
sharing your
I'm like, this
journey.
is a long time. Are people gonna really listen this long
Oh yes,
to
No,
yes,
me?
they will.
they'll be
Do
here.
you?
Yes, we have
Oh
people who
yes,
listen.
Stacey, they will.
Yeah, people listen. Yeah,
Yes. So
Okay.
we're very
yes,
excited.
yeah. We're
Thank
really excited to
you.
have you.
And this was great. I enjoyed this interview with you too.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you
We've
so
enjoyed
much.
having you. I have. So I want like to know how people can contact you, how they can get the IamU doll. If there's someone who's interested in making a doll, how do they contact you as a consultant so that they can reach out to you?
Okay, so since you guys are my friends now,
Oh, we your
I
friends. We
so
your
I'll
friends.
and the fans are my friends too. So I'll give you this information. So if you're interested in consulting, you can reach me at my email address, Stacey STACEYMCIRBY at gmail.com. And you can find the dolls on IamUdolls.com currently, or you can find them also on eBay. Just look up Sunjay Doll
Okay.
Hey.
or IamU Dolls.
Okay. All right. And
Okay.
we'll put that in the end of the the section where I put information down about the show. We'll have that listed as well, so there'll be a link to that as well, so they can find it there.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
Okay. And we
perfect.
talked about something else about the possibility of there being like a limited time offer for people if they are
Oh,
interested in
right.
buying.
For eBay, I would give them like a discount on the
Okay.
doll.
Okay.
Because right now they're $15.99. I would mark it down to $14.99.
That's a good one. Okay. So do they need to, how do they get that discount? If they, should they contact you first and say, I'm from in the
Well,
doll
I'm just
world
trying to
or?
see, like, unless I switch it on eBay for a moment, and you can tell them for 1 week.
Okay. So after we air your
Mhm.
show, we will let you
Yes,
know the air date. And for that week, we will let people know that they can get your doll for a discount on eBay.
yes.
Okay.
And we can give them the deadline, like between these days, you can get a discounted price.
Okay,
Sounds
and
wonderful.
we'll figure that out before
Yes.
before we air the show, so that way you know
Yes,
around what time that's coming. That would be good.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go and officially just I guess sign out, and then we can talk for a little bit more if you have a few minutes off of the recording part. Just
Okay. I
so
actually
we
got to
can.
get back.
Oh yes, well
Oh,
you do
okay.
what you got to do.
You
Well,
do what you need to do.
I just want to say thank you so much, Stacey, for being on In the Doll World with us. This was an amazing interview, and we're so excited and happy that you were able to share your journey and your story with us. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. And thank you. Just let me know if any editing needs to be involved and
I think you're good.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening to In the Doll World. Me and Tammy really hope that you enjoyed the show. Please don't forget to share our podcast with other doll enthusiasts such as yourself. And if you would like to leave a message on how you enjoyed the show, or you want to suggest any guests that we should interview, as well as share information about what's happening in the doll community in your area, please know that you can reach out to us at georgette.inthedollworld@gmail.com and or tammy.inthedollworld@gmail.com. Also, if you want to see some of the photos we will be posting of our guests as well as the dolls that they talk about on the show, please visit www.inthedollworld.com. And until next week, add a little play into your life by collecting a doll, sharing a doll, or giving a doll a home. Until next week, thank you again,
for listening to In the Doll World.